now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show brings you famous celebrities and amazing people from all over the world. Listen online at themikewagnershow.com and on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And watch the interview on YouTube. So sit back and relax and enjoy the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking a budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Evan Fine of the Senior Reserve Group. When you start thinking about retirement, who are you going to call about Medicare? Why call the best? Evan Fine of Senior Reserve Group, specializing in Medicare, health, and long-term care insurance. Evan can be reached at 1-800-650-9357. That's 1-800-650-9357, or email to evanfine@seniorreservegroup.com. Evan is licensed in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Delaware, South Carolina, and Florida. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. Also, check our Facebook page, facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen to episodes on SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and also watch the interview on YouTube as well. We're here with a lovely lady from San Diego who began performing at 3 years old doing some Disney. She also played some Disney characters, including Beauty and the Beast, and she attended Gary Spatz's The Playground. And she's been in many short films, features, TV series, the web, including Haze, also Skitz on 360 TV. But she's got a couple of special more projects we're going to talk about. But first, coming all the way to San Diego, heading out to the East Coast, here she is, coast to coast, the next up-and-coming star, Laura Stetman. Laura, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much, Mike. It's great to be here.
Oh, you're welcome. You began performing at 3 years old. You did some Disney characters. You were singing Beauty and the Beast. You were just jumping up and down. You later attended Gary Spatz's The Playground School. You starred in many short films, features, TV series, Hazed, and Skits on 360 TV. And you also got some upcoming as well, too, like The Thing We Lose and Silence is Golden. And we also got more as well, too. But first, before we get into all that, tell us how you got started.
Honestly, I've just been performing ever since I was little. My parents told me I have been singing in my car seat even before I could talk.
That was easy.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So I guess you could say I've always just loved playing, performing, pretending. Ever since I was little, I love that creative aspect of it. Even during school, I think just early on, I felt really much like I loved playing characters because I would dress up completely different each day, like in middle school. Mm-hmm. Like one day I'd show up being like a goth girl with like a choker, go-go boots, black dark makeup, kind of that whole getup. And then the next day I would be like, dressed like I'm going to the beach. So, it just always kept people guessing. They didn't really know what kind of like girl I was because I constantly dressed just differently, and I enjoyed it. I had so much fun.
It sounds like it too. So it's like one day you could dress like a jock, one day you could dress up as a freak, and one day you could dress up as a nerd, and one day you could dress up like whoever or something. You seem to enjoy that freedom without people just saying anything negative. Sounds like you had a lot of freedom in school.
Actually, I just kind of like marched to the beat of my own drum, so to speak. I just I didn't really have a clique in school. I don't think I would have ever really fit into a certain clique. So I kind of was the girl that just said hi to everybody. And I think that has a lot to do with just I never dressed one way. I never was just one way, other than just being kind to people. But, it's weird because I was very, very shy. And then you would cast me in a play and I'd completely come alive and they'd be like, oh, wait, who is she? Oh, she's in our class?
Oh, that's
yeah.
That's amazing. And how many high school plays have you been in? And when you've auditioned, what's been the success rate? It sounds like you've been in a lot of high school plays and productions.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would say, let's see, in middle school, I was in Annie, and I was one of the orphans. Everybody wanted me to play Annie, but I was far too shy to even try and try out for that.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah. But then after that, I did The Sound of Music in high school. And I was pretty much just like ensemble, but the thing that really got people's attention was when we did what's it called? That Shakespeare one. I am blanking on it right now.
The only thing I can think of is probably Romeo and Juliet, and I think there's also Hamlet, and I think there's probably a couple others. Let me look it up on the computer as well, too. And if you're ever stuck, by the way, you can just pull out your tablet or go to your laptop or something, or pull out your smartphone. You can also look up some of the things too. It's like I do encourage people to look up as well.
There we go.
Oh, I was just gonna look that up. Oh, you beat me to it.
I was like, if I sit here long enough, I'm gonna figure it out. Hold on. So yeah, Taming of the Shrew, and I played Bianca, which was very different too, because seeing as Bianca is like the girl that all the guys want, very popular, and everything, versus her sister Kat, who's kind of like a wallflower. It was like the first role that I got to play where, I really played it up, because I was like, all right, I get to essentially not be me at all and have fun doing it. So yeah, that was in junior year of high school. So that was like my first legit play. And then shortly after, I started talking to my parents about being represented by an agency, and we lived in Steamboat Springs at the time, so it was a small town. That wasn't really a thing that we could do up there, but I begged them, really, really wanted it. So, but essentially they said no. They wanted me to have like a normal, high school experience, normal growing up experience. So I didn't really get into that until I graduated high school, and then that's when I got into Gary Spatz Playground, and that is an amazing story in itself. So it was right after that I got into film, and I've been doing film ever since.
I love to hear the story about Gary Spatz School. You can just tell me about the story, how you got involved, and the big story leading up to it.
Okay, awesome. So I had just moved from Steamboat to California, and I was attending junior college with my best friend, who I've known since kindergarten. And so when I was watching Sweet Life of Zach and Cody one day, I just had this thought. I was like, I could do this. I really could do this. I could be on TV. I could play these characters. And so I paused the TV show, and I immediately went online. And at first I searched for, I think it was like Dylan Sprouse and Cole Sprouse, and all about them and the schools that they went to. And so I found out Gary Spatz The Playground. So when I clicked on it and I read about it, I found out that like Justin Timberlake went there, Britney Spears went there. And there were a few other people too that have been there. Some people from Secret Life of the American Teenager. And so just mainly a bunch of like child Disney and Nickelodeon stars. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, I have to like figure out about this school. So I looked up, I saw that it was on 1801 Avenue of the Stars, and I was like, okay, I've got to do this. I'm going to call them up. And it was hilarious because I didn't tell my mom about it. I didn't tell my sister about it. I didn't tell anybody about it because no one realized I loved acting this much. I was going to take it seriously. So I called, and I remember they answered, and they're like, hello. And I was like, hi, is this Gary Spatz The Playground? They're like, yes, this is. Who's calling? And I was like, well, my name is Laura Stetman, and I want to audition for your school. And there was just pause on the phone. There was like, and then they're like, I'm sorry, who are you?
I thought there was crickets chirping for just a minute, or jaw drops.
I literally was like, probably like not the person to call, and so I just remembered that, and and I was like, I want to audition for your school. I was like, I'm a small town girl from Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and I love acting. I want to audition for your school, and I just kept like doing that, and they're like, hold on a second. So they put me on hold. And I think they probably were like talking and being like, who is this girl? Like, she's so like forceful. I've never heard of her before, everything. They're like, he goes, okay, Laura, you got a monologue? And I go, well, yeah, I do. And he goes, great. Be here tomorrow, 1 p.m. I was like, all right. So I got there. And I know, it's amazing. So I got there. And then, at the time, I had never film audition before, so this is like a story in itself. I showed up, they're like, okay, great, so go ahead and stand here on the tee and you're gonna go ahead and slate. And I was like, I raised my hand and I'm like, what's a slate? And I'm like, and they're like, really? Okay. They're like, you're just gonna say your name and your height and who you're reading for. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay, yeah. So I'm already nervous, and then as soon as they start rolling, I just boom, get into it. And I was doing a monologue that was actually very, very awkward. It's about this clingy girl who calls, and basically she's really in love with the guy that she was with before. And he's not interested in her at all. So she leaves this like embarrassingly long like voice message. And
oh my gosh!
It was perfect for me. So I just picked that, and then I did it. I did it once, and then they stopped me, and they just stared, and I was just quiet because I'm waiting for them to say anything, and they're like, "Huh, that was pretty good." And then he like looked at me, he goes, can you hold on for a second? And I was like, sure. So he goes and he leaves the room, and then it's just me and my boyfriend hanging out in there. He's sitting in one of the seats, and I'm just looking at him, and he's looking at me like, what just happened? And then the guy comes back in, and he brings this woman, and she goes, hi, Laura. All right, so I understand that you're reading this monologue and that you're pretty good. I just want to see what you got. So I'm going to sit here and I want you to do it again. And I was like, okay. So I did it again. And then she goes, great. And she stands up and she gets in front of me and she's like, all right, do you know what subtext is? And I was like, no, not really. And she's like, okay, it's the thing that you're thinking while you're saying something. Like you say something, but then you're always thinking, your mind is always going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can direct you, okay? So I'm going to stand in front of you. You continue saying your monologue, but I'm going to say your subtext out loud. I just want to see if that changes your read or, kind of what goes with that, all right? So action. And it was really interesting because she's talking like my thoughts as I'm saying the monologue. So that was like something I've never done before. And then she said it was really great. She was happy about it, and then she asked me to do it one more time. So I did it one more time without her saying the subtext. I just was thinking my own thoughts in my head. And then at the end of the monologue she goes, okay, great. Can you excuse us for a second? And I was like, sure. So they all leave the room. Once again, it's me and my boyfriend, and then I start stepping off the tee mark, and I go to my boyfriend, and I'm just like, can you hold me, please? Because I don't know what's gonna happen right now. Like,
Jeopardy theme music.
I know, right? So they come in, and I think it was like probably like maybe 3 minutes later. Gary Spatz walks in this time. So it's Gary Spatz. It's the woman who I would learn later is going to be my acting teacher, Gayla Goel. And then Farron Fonte, the guy who asked me to do the monologue in the first place. And they're like, so you got talent. And we would really love you to be at our school. We actually think that you're ready for the advanced class. And
awesome.
You can start tonight. And I was like, oh my God. Like, crazy. So my jaw dropped. I didn't start that night because I literally was just like whoa. I can't even believe it. But yeah, I started the very next week on Thursdays, And then I did every single Thursday for the next 2 years, and then I graduated with excellence in acting from there. But that was really like my start, and I tell that story to so many people, and it's just so memorable every time I tell it, because I like picture myself back in that room and everything all over again. And, it's just been a ride since then.
Yeah, that was amazing. I think that's already in my memory bank, and I think we learned a lesson from now. It's like, why pay them when they can pay you? I mean, I guess that's just a thing. It's like, instead of paying for learning, you're learning for free just for picking up the phone. I think we learned a really good lesson right there.
Yeah.
But
I just can't even believe that.
but of course, the fun doesn't stop here. We've got more as well, too. We'll talk about some of your films. You're listening to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com. Powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show is also brought to you by Evan Fine of the Senior Reserve Group. When you start a business or own a business for a while, who do you call for sole proprietorship insurance? Why not call the expert, Evan Fine of Senior Reserve Group, for all your health insurance needs. Call today. Evan can be reached at 1-800-650-9357. That's 1-800-650-9357 or Evan Fine at seniorreservegroup.com. Licensed in 7 states, in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Delaware, South Carolina, and Florida. Also, The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com. Also on Facebook and facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can like, invite friends, share, and check our episodes. You can also download and listen on SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and also you can also watch the interview on YouTube as well. We're here with up-and-coming actress Laura Stetman, who got her start at 3 years old performing some Disney, and she also attended Gary Spatz's The Playground, which we just heard about, one of the most memorable stories that I've ever heard on how to get in. She also starred in many short films, features, TV series, web series, including Haze, Skitz, and also on 360 TV, and she's also got some upcoming as well, too. She's been on Slideshow, also upcoming The Things We Lose, and Silence is Golden, and of course had The Secret Life of the American Teenager. And first of all, let's just talk about some of the films you've been in. You got your start in Secret Life of the American Teenager. You can just tell a little bit about that.
All right. Well, actually, it's a funny story, because it was actually the first time I'd been to LA and I've ever been doing background work. So I went there not knowing really how it was going to go. And so I signed in. You do the voucher thing, you sit down, and basically they're like, okay, we'll call you when we need background. So I'm talking to the other actors there, and I'm like, hey, have you done this before? I mean, I've never done this before, but the reason I wanted experience is I wanted experience on an actual real life professional set. So what they did is they had just a hallway scene, basically, where Ben is talking with Grace in the hallway, and then there's a whole bunch of us background that play students, and we're just walking through the hallway, going to our lockers and everything like that. So basically, they said action, and then we just walked back and forth. Great, let's do the scene again. All right, and action. All right, and background. And so, I kind of learned exactly how that went. But I guess it was kind of memorable, or maybe I was good at walking, or they liked what I was wearing or whatever, because then they promoted me to featured. So they were just like, hey, can you come here? And I was like, oh, yeah, me? Okay, sure. So I walked up there. It's so awkward. And they're like, okay, I want you to walk right past Ben as he's going towards Grace, okay? And I was like, okay. He's like, and I'll cue you. And I'm like, all right. And so, yeah, did that. And then, I walked right past Ben. And so you can see that in the episode. So that's basically just the smallest thing that I've ever done on a big production. But that was like my first start on a real life, like, feature film set, TV shows and like the whole backlot. So that was really cool.
Yeah, it sounds like it too. You also been in Lindsay's World, Space Navy, and Skitz on 360 TV, Worlds of Purgatory, and of course you've been featured on Skitz. You can just tell us about that on 360 TV.
Okay, yeah, Skitz is really interesting because it's a faith-based TV show. It's think like Saturday Night Live, but with a Christian sort of twist.
Okay.
The odd part is that I actually got contacted by Dave Siriano. He's the producer of the show. And he said, hey, I've seen your reel. I see that you live in Orlando. I would really love if you auditioned for my show. And I was like, okay. So I'm like thinking, what is this about? What is this about? And so I watched his other shows that he filmed back when he was in New York. And I immediately freaked out because it's very like there's like Bible verses, and I have not read the Bible like ever in my entire life. So I was like, okay, I'm not sure I'm really going to be a good fit for this. So I went down there. He invited me to go to the studio, and I went down there and introduced myself. And he starts out with introducing me to the rest of the cast, and then showing me the recording studio, the stage, and just the whole like sound stage and everything where we're gonna film, and then he takes me back to the recording studio, and he's like, so I've heard a lot of great things about your work, and I've seen your reel, and I just wanted to see if you were interested in being on our show, and I was like, I mean, that's absolutely fantastic. I would love to, but I need to be honest about something. And he's like, all right. And I was like, I have never read the Bible. Is that going to be a problem? And he's like, oh, okay. Well, no, it's no, I don't think so. It's very, do you believe in God, Laura? And I said, yes, I do. And he's like, do you pray? And I said, yes, I believe in the power of prayer. And he's like, that's all you need. That's all you need for this. There's going to be people who have gone to church their whole life that will know more about the Bible, but that's not what this show is about. It's going to be about biblical characters in a sense, but we're mainly going to, switch it into a Saturday Night Live, and turn it into little skits with, faith-based messages along the way. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was doing that for about a couple months, and people were really shocked because everyone had read the Bible, everyone had grown up in church, and I was like the only one that didn't. But I guess I sold it pretty well because they're like, oh yeah, the story of like Mary and Joseph. I'm like, oh yeah. And they're like, you know Mary, right? Because I remember there was a skit and it was all about Mary. And I was like, oh, can you clarify this part? And that's when they didn't know, and most of them were shocked that I even was casted in it, because they had all been to church and everything. So I mean, that's just a message to, I think, any actors or actresses out there. You don't necessarily have to fit the mold of everybody else and what they're doing, and be exactly like them. You just be you, and sometimes that's just enough. So it sounds like the message is simply be open-minded. You never know what good will come out of it. That's what it sounds like. Absolutely. Yep. It sounds amazing too, and I can imagine when the shooting's done for the day or the series is done, you're like, thank God it's done. Well, I mean, I enjoy the characters that I play for sure. They're very fun, and now we have so many people on the cast that they cast based on type, because they can be like, oh, okay, Laura's really good at playing like this quirky, kind of doesn't fit in sort of type, so that's more like this character in the Bible. And I'm like, okay, great, awesome, cast me as that. But yeah, it's just it's fun in itself. I like the messages, and I absolutely love the cast, and we have such a good time. And the thing that I enjoy the most about it is that it's very, very professional, with having like their own studio, the recording studio. We've even done like music videos, little parodies of like Grease, but we call it Grace. So it's
nice.
yeah,
I like that.
It's great. It's great. Dave, he comes out with like the best stuff ever. So yeah.
Yes, grace is the word. I can imagine that. Now you're getting that song in my head, which is a good thing. and can we still see Skitz on 360 TV?
Oh yeah, you can. It's on the Roku channel. And then it's also on the Skitz 360 Live YouTube channel as well. And you can also follow it on Facebook. It's just Skitz at 360 TV.
That is amazing, too. And we'll get to the films as well, too. But first of all, you're listening to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking a budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Evan Fine of the Senior Reserve Group. When you start thinking about retirement, who are you going to call about Medicare? Why call the best? Evan Fine of Senior Reserve Group, specializing in Medicare, health, and long-term care insurance. Evan can be reached at 1-800-650-9357. That's 1-800-650-9357. Or email to evanfine@seniorreservegroup.com. Evan is licensed in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Delaware, South Carolina, and Florida. Also, The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com. Also on Facebook at facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can also download and listen to episodes on SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, check out the interviews on YouTube as well. We're here with Laura Stetman, who began performing at 3 years old, playing many Disney characters and coming from Steamboat Springs to San Diego. And now she's in the big time. She's been in Hazed, Skitz 360 TV, and also she's been in Slideshow and Coming Up, The Things We Lose, and Silence is Golden. And, of course, we got more as well, too. And I think Hazed has been featured as well, too. So you can just tell us a little bit about that.
All right. Well, Hazed is actually one of my awesome projects that I hold dear to my heart because it's where I met the boyfriend that I have right now. So we met on set. But before that, I actually did a short film called Dollhouse. It's a very psychological thriller film, and it was so good that the director from Hazed, Dale, actually decided to call me and say, like, oh, I saw you in Dollhouse, and I saw that it was really good, and I would really love to cast you in my short film Hazed. And so I kind of asked him, like, oh, you know, what's it about? All I knew was he was going to enter it into the OIF Challenge, which is the Orlando International Film Festival Challenge. So I was like, okay, that sounds really cool. Sure, yeah, tell me about it. And he's like, well, I'm thinking about casting you for the lead because I just saw Dollhouse, and that was pretty messed up and scary, so I think you do well here. And I'm like, oh, great. All right, what do we got going on here then? He's like, all right, well, you will be playing a co-ed that walks into this house on a dare, and basically there's been murders going on in this house. And you have to go ahead and like take a couple selfies and basically, you know, take pictures and spend the night in that house, and make it out alive. And I was like, all right, cool. So the premise of it sounded really awesome. And then, you know, of course I said yes. And then when I got there, I see that it's filmed at a house that's not decorated like a haunted house at all. And there's literally just this green sheet that he puts over like his living room wall. And then there's like a camera facing it and everything. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be green screen.
Oh my
All right.
goodness.
Exactly. So that was a surprise. I was like, all right, so this is great. Go ahead and walk me through this. Dale. And he's like, all right, so basically when you come in here, the door is going to be about this high. You're going to walk in. Don't worry about camera, Laura. I just want you to worry about the action. You're going to walk in, and then I want you to look around as if you're in a dusty, rafty, you know, kind of house. And so I rehearsed it a couple of times, and good thing I'm great with my imagination, because that's all I really needed to do. And then, he called action, and that was how we started the set. And I was like, oh, all right. So not knowing that it was going to be green screen, and having that preset thing in my head that, okay, it's going to be like a haunted house, and I'm imagining this as I'm driving over, and then I just see this big green sheet. I'm like, oh, this is all up to your imagination, Laura. Please don't F it up.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Later on, I mean, it was pretty incredible. No one knew that it was green screen. It actually won for best special effects, as well as best acting and best cinematography. So that's just all the work of Dale, man. He does all that in his computer, and then he has like all the actors bring it to life. But it was just me and then the little girl that was in the house. So we were the only two that really had to like act it out on green screen. So that was pretty interesting. And it was a great experience too, because now I have that under my belt, and I absolutely know, I'm like, okay, this is how it's gonna go. And the other thing that I ran into also is he asked me to bring jammy pants. So I brought jammy pants, and he said just no green in them, before I knew it was going to be green screen. And so I was like, okay. And I'm bringing in these like Christmassy pants. They have like little specks of green, and I'm thinking it's not going to matter, like whatever. No, gotta change those whole pants. He had to like get his daughter's pants for me.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, how embarrassing. Like, because he showed me what it looked like, and they're literally like little holes. Like,
oh no.
I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
You know what? That could have played well in Skitz on 360 TV. Being holy. That could have played well, yes.
Me and my holy pants. Holy pants in a haunted house will make a whole new film.
Or if you're on a farm, holy cow.
Exactly.
Oh, so Mania just came up, and of course you that won quite an interesting award, and you also were in director's Anthony Penney's film. He's out of Florida, and some award-winning ones. You can just tell us a little about that and what some of the awards it's won.
Well, actually, one of the films that has already won actually it's been nominated for Best Trailer and then Best Short Film is his film Bark. And that one I was just a little bit of a voiceover character in that. I played a newscaster. But that one is going to be released pretty soon. It's still in post-production. The Things We Lose is the big one coming up for his film, and that's going to be filming in the summer. And it's all about just basically how we all go through life, and many think that life is pain, and I think that life is sometimes pain, not all the time, but definitely sometimes. And every gain that we have in life, there's also a loss. And, it poses that really important question of, is it worth what you're gaining, what you're losing? Is it really worth it? So, there's like a scene in the beginning that I can't really tell too much about, but basically, if you think about something really happy that can happen, but at the same time, it's very tragic what can happen at the same time. I can't talk too much about this because it's new, but that's the whole premise of it. There's a whole bunch of different characters, and they're all based on feelings like agony, torment, misery, just all those dark feelings that we feel within ourselves. And the great thing about Anthony Penney is he's not afraid to look at things that other people would like to shy away from. So what's great about his film is it's going to definitely cross a lot of boundaries. It's going to cross a lot of lines. It's going to probably make some people feel really uncomfortable. But one of the reasons that I got into acting too is to make an impact on people's lives too. So if that happens in a shocking way, but it's something that my character would do, so be it. Here we go.
It was amazing, too. And it kind of reminded me of that one Disney Pixar movie displaying, each person's feelings, happy, sad, and, whatever else. I mean, I can't think of the name of it right now, and I've seen it, but I do know what you're getting at. So that's what it sounds like as well, too. So, and you also have been in Silence is Golden. You can just tell us a little bit about that, too. That's up and coming.
Well, Silence is Golden is definitely an up-and-coming film as well. So we haven't shot it yet. But I'm playing the character of Elbow the Jester, and the gist of it is it's basically like an imaginary world, there's a cross between a dream world and then the actual world. And the two characters are basically arguing what has happened in the actual world through the dream world. So I play mostly what's in the dream world, like this manipulative, kind of conniving character that claims that she sees everything that is happening, and she has all of these different secrets, and they call her the Jester because they never really know if she's joking or not. But it's not in a ha-ha way, it's in a conniving, evil way. So, yeah, and basically the film opens with just one of the characters is capturing the Jester, and throws her in the back of the car, and she's just this young girl, and they're like we can't really take her seriously, and it starts off in the dream world, and basically it just goes from then on, and then you meet other characters too that kind of tell what the main character is going through. So it's a little bit of a more I would say kind of supernatural sort of film. But yeah, that's going to be really great.
It does sound like it too, and it's amazing as well too. And of course, you've been in some commercials, you've been in some modeling and everything like that. Or what are some of your best commercials you think you've done?
Well, let's see. I would say the best one that I did is a commercial / short film, and it was called CVI Robot Maid. There's this apartment complex in Orlando, and it's called the Collegiate Village Inn. And while I was going to Full Sail as a student, my friend Andrew actually was a producer, and he was just shooting a lot of films, and somehow he got to talking with the apartment complex, and they needed more people to pick their apartment complex, or at least get their apartment complex more on the map. And he's like, well, I shoot all these little shorts, and he happens to be very, very good at shooting at comedy. And so he's like, I can hire student actors. They're going to be students, but, they're definitely going to, put your apartment complex on the map. And, I think it's actually really appropriate since you're trying to get students to stay there while they're going to school. So, yeah, so it was really interesting because they bought it. They paid him to shoot this commercial. And it's literally called CVI Robot Maid, and it's about this guy who is really excited to be there. It's his first time away from home, and it opens up with him looking at the rooms and deciding, okay, yeah, I'm gonna be here. And then shortly after he's settling in, this robot essentially comes out from one of the walls and is basically like, oh, what can I do for you? And he's like, whoa, I was not expecting that. What are you talking about? What? So it starts out like that, basically. And then they end up being like really, really good friends until one of the people from the hotel get wind of it. And basically they're like, why does he have a robot and we don't? And so people get angry, and he ends up, the robot ends up not being able to handle all of it. So he ends up jumping out of the building.
Oh my gosh.
This scene where all the robot parts go everywhere. And yeah. And then it just ends right there. And it's like CVI, welcome, we're everyone's family. And it's great. It actually helps a lot of people want to go to that apartment complex.
Oh my gosh! And I mean, how much did they charge or something? Did it go up because everybody wanted to go there or something, or what?
Man, I don't even know the details on that. I don't. I know Andrew would. But but I do know that it was just essentially way more popular after that came out. And then yeah, Andrew moved to LA, and so he's doing his own stuff now. But that was his first commercial, and in Legion Productions. So that's still his production company today.
That is amazing too, and it made me think of the of the cartoon slash Disney Pixar film WALL-E. It just makes me think of it. WALL-E. What can I do for you, WALL-E?
Exactly.
It just made me think. And of course, there was one thing I forgot to ask about. You've been in Anthony Penney's films, and just tell us how'd you come across Anthony Penney and working with him.
Actually, that was on Hazed. So the first time that I was on Hazed and I walked up there, he was the only guy there because the dare was between the sorority girls. So it was like 2 girls and then one boyfriend, and so he played the boyfriend. So he was acting at the time. It was one of his last films that he was acting in, and so yeah, we basically just like got to talking on set and everything. And shortly before that, it's kind of funny because he was casting for his film Blinded. That's won so many awards too. And I remember messaging him about it, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm interested in the script and everything. And so he sent it over, and I read it. And because his films are very raw, to the point, they make you look at things that sometimes you're not ready to look at. It really paralleled, how people are blinded in love. And is it really love that they're feeling, or is it lust? And that compared to my my current relationship. So I turned the part down. And I just told him I can't do it. It's too close to home. There's a scene where basically the 2 people who they say they're in love, but really it's lust. They're having sex, but they have bags over their head, basically pretending like everything is okay, when really it's not, and sex doesn't fix everything. And so, basically when you're blinded in love, it kind of just raises the question, are you really in love, or is this something else? And I turned it down. And then it was funny because then a week later, I was on the set of Hazed, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm Anthony Penney. And I was like, oh, I turned down your film. And he's like, oh, you're Laura Stetman? I was like, yeah. Oh, this is so embarrassing. he's like, wow, who would have known? It's fine. I don't hold you responsible for it. It's fine. Not everyone can do it. I was like, yeah.
It's almost the thing is who knew, and when you mentioned about having bags over the head, having sex, and I think this will give the impression is, hey, sex in the bag. Is this going to be a new trend, or what's going on here? It's like eating Tide Pods or some next trend that's out there. So. Exactly.
But yeah, that is the first time I ever met Anthony Penney, and then yeah, he's actually my boyfriend now, so that's interesting. I don't think anyone saw it going that way, but yeah.
But of course, you also look on Facebook as well too. You're in a number of films, and plus you got some upcoming projects. And speaking of that, what do you consider your most favorite project that you've worked on? You give me all the great things you've done. What do you think is the most number one you've done?
That is a really good question, because I'm like literally flashing back through all of my projects right now in my head. I would have to say it's between Dollhouse and Woods of Purgatory, the TV series with Michael Fredinelli. He's the one that directs it. Mm-hmm. That was pretty interesting. Both of them are more darker films, darker tones, and I think I just like that whole dramatic, kick to stories. So what I loved about Dollhouse is that it takes place in essentially a cage. Like most of the entire film is just about this girl, Brenda, who's trapped in this cage, and she wakes up And basically, she doesn't know how she got there. She doesn't know where she is. She's just in the middle of the woods. And, she starts like crying out for help. And, it goes through the film where it's days where she's just trying to get it open. She's shaking the cage. She's kicking the cage. She's trying to bite the cage. She's trying to crawl out of the cage, push it over, literally everything she could do to just get out. And there's this one guy that comes every single day in a truck. And he just drops her off some food in exchange for her basically stripping off her clothes. And but he never hurts her. That's the whole interesting thing, is like I think the audience is expecting him to hurt her, and he doesn't. He's just like a sick freak, basically, who's keeping this girl and who knows who else, out in these woods. And basically, in short, the only way that Brenda can get out is she spies this little girl that's, looks very seemingly sweet, but she's in the middle of nowhere. And, she sees that she has a little doll and there's a little bobby pin in it. And she sees that as her way of getting out finally. So she befriends the little girl. She ends up opening the cage and then escaping for their lives. And then the twist at the end is that the little girl was actually in on it the whole time. So they were just messing with Brenda. The guy, the little girl, a couple other people too. They were just messing with her the whole time. And so it really throws you for a psychological loop. And then it takes you through one more turn at the very end, because it shows an actual little doll in a pretend cage, and it literally was a little girl pretending, like playing, basically. There's like a little tea party, and she's playing that this girl is like trapped in this cage, which is Brenda.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty insane. The scariest part about it, though, is like, when you're in a haunted house, or you're in a place that people died, or something just awful happened there, you can feel that energy. Well, the actual cage that I was in, that we were filming in the whole time, the director told me he didn't know where it came from, or exactly what it was used for. But it's not an animal cage. It's not a shark cage. It literally looks like a cage that was used for human trafficking. And I remember standing in that cage that whole time, like barefoot and everything. And they offered for me to go out. And the only time I ever went out was just to use the bathroom, because I wanted actually to build up that sick, uneasy feeling of just being trapped in there, mm-hmm. and what it felt like. And I mean, it literally felt like I was being like trafficked. And I don't know where that cage was. He got it from, like an antique store. But I mean, just the feeling standing in there, I can tell you it's been through something. Something's happened in there.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
That
I
is
was a little messed up after I got out of that cage, I have to say.
That is something. And you talked about words of purgatory, which I don't think we've hit upon yet. And you talked a little bit about that. Maybe just tell us a little bit about the film.
Okay, so Woods of Purgatory, I saw the audition on Backstage, or the post about it, and I saw that it was a TV series, but it said Los Angeles, California. So I was like, oh, there's probably no way that they're going to pick me, but, I'm just going to submit just in case. And so Michael actually messaged me, and he loved my headshot and my reel, and saw that I'd done a lot of things on my resume, and he loved my look. And he's like, I would like to cast you as the lead Rose. And I'm thinking in my head, my first thought is like, oh, how am I going to get to California?
Oh, my gosh.
So I'm like, oh, no, the jig is up. He's going to know, and I'm not going to get cast. And he's like, no, actually, I see that you're in Florida. Yeah, my series films in California, but I'm actually going to be on vacation in Orlando. And, I want to shoot it while we're there. I want to work with you. And I was like, oh, my God, yes.
Oh, my gosh, that is so amazing. I mean, you just had a lot of great deals there. And there's something I forgot to ask you as well, too. You're in that Gary Spatz is a Playground, and you're in a class of people. And who from your class went on to bigger and better things?
Okay, so Gosh, all right. Thinking off of the top of my head, I just know that she plays Shauna on Pretty Little Liars, and she was recently in the Medea movie, and she plays like the main girlfriend. I'm blanking on her name, but she was in my class for a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when I see her, I'm like, ah, oh my gosh, she was in my class. It's crazy. And then Just Go With It, the little girl that played the sister, she also went to Gary Spatz playground. There's actually a scene where she's talking about acting school, and she's wearing the hat that I have. It actually says it's pink, and it says Gary Spatz playground.
Oh my gosh.
yeah. When I saw that, I paused it. And I was like, oh, no way. I was like, that's so cool. Sky Young is a very talented actor. I believe that he's doing some things on Netflix currently, and he's still in Los Angeles. Michael Wills and I, we're still really, really good friends. He works for actually a Canadian production company.
Mm-hmm.
So he's doing some things up in Canada, and I remember like he and I talked like a couple weeks ago, and he's doing things with like Robert Downey Jr. now. So that's pretty amazing. So yeah, a lot of people who graduate Gary Spatz, they're still in the film industry, whether they're doing, producing or they're acting or they're directing. They're consistently, doing that, and that school is really for passionate artists. So if you're passionate about it, you got it.
It sounds like it too, and I think we hit upon your favorite projects, and I think we hit upon the most challenging, which I think we are hit upon. And what do you consider most memorable moment in your career so far?
Most memorable moment. That is a good question. I mean, I would really have to go with the call to Gary Spatz. That will never ever leave my mind, like ever. That was the whole start of how I even became a somebody. Was just that phone call, and knowing that I may be nobody, but everybody is nobody before they're somebody.
Exactly right, and of course, you also talk about some of the movies you were in, like in Dollhouse, Woods of Purgatory. They were also challenging. And what are some of the other projects you consider challenging?
Let's see. I would say, okay, CVI Robot Maid was a little bit challenging because it was more comedic, and I had only done really drama stuff up until that point. So I really had to get in the mind of like a creepy stalker, but make it funny. Mm-hmm. like Nickelodeon style. And she's the front desk agent basically, and she has a crush on Cody, who's the one that's finally going into the apartments. And so she works at the front desk there, and so she's constantly just talking, trying to talk to him, trying to like watch him, and there's just a lot of scenes where he'll have his scene, and then the camera will just like flash, and she'll be like behind him. Like it's just like really creepy. And I had to basically go full on creeper status, and not really care, but be like, okay, this is 100% not Laura right now, so it's okay to be a creeper. It's okay. The creepier the better. And it was just like, I remember the director was like, all right, we're gonna have you in this cafeteria, and they're shooting it in that cafeteria, and they're like, and you're just gonna sit here and you're gonna stare. And I was like, all right. So I'm sitting down and I'm staring, and I'm still not feeling it. And at this point, I'm like, I'm just gonna try something. I'm not even gonna ask the director. I'm just gonna try something. So I waited till they said cut, and then I turned around and I grabbed an apple. And I gave myself something to do, which is something that they said in Gary Spatz too, is like, whenever you're out of options, give your character something to do, because you don't know what it's gonna end up being. And so what I did was I stared at him, yes, but I waited till he had like that feeling of, oh, she's staring at me, to take a really sexy bite out of that apple.
Oh my goodness. You're making me hungry for apples now. Oh my goodness. Take a bite. I'm so hungry for one right now.
was just really hilarious. And I think a lot of things is like, you just have to really get outside yourself and be free to do anything. And they ended up using that in the final thing. They were like, "That's hilarious." I'm like, and I felt so creepy. They're like, "No, it's perfect."
Oh my goodness.
I think it was funny too because Andrew, he ended up coming to school too. He's like, "Yeah, someone asked too, like, ooh, does Wendy really work there?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, someone actually thought that I actually worked at that apartment complex." It's like, "No, it's my character." Like it's so funny.
Oh my goodness.
So I guess I did it justice. I played her well.
I think you did really well. All right, we have a few minutes left here with Laura Stetman. She's been great tonight, and of course you can catch her on many of the films on the internet. We'll ask her about that. Who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
Biggest influence? Honestly, I would have to say my acting teacher, Gayla Goel. She's still in LA. And she's just amazing. She was that first person that ever really saw, I guess, the vulnerable side of me. And I remember it distinctly when we were in acting school, and there was this exercise where you're supposed to look into the person's eyes and you're not supposed to say anything. And the thing is everyone has things that have happened to them, things that have things that they wish for and everything. And she says, if you stare long enough into a person's eyes, you become really connected to them. And that's how you have to be when you're in the scene with your scene partner, or with the reader in a room when you're doing the casting. And I remember her looking at me in the eyes, and the first thing that she said is she's like, "Oh," and she just hugged me. Like she knew, that I've been through a hell of a lot as a kid. Just with looking in my eyes. And I remember she asked me to stay after, and she said, "What I saw in your eyes, that's what you need to show in every single character. You need to be able to be open and that vulnerable in every single character, because that's what the camera is going to see."
That is amazing, and it sounds like you really did a great job. And, of course, I forgot to ask you as well, too, what actors or actresses influenced you in your career? And besides Zach and Cody, what were some of your favorite TV shows you enjoyed watching?
I love Pretty Little Liars. Lucy Hale is one of my favorites for sure. I just think she has such a way with almost acting with her eyes. She doesn't have to really express much throughout her body. You just look in her eyes and you see everything in all of her characters. Even when she did the animated one of like Tinkerbell and the Secret of the Wings, she played the sister Perry, and you can tell even with just her voice what she's feeling. So I really do look up to her. Another one is Charlize Theron. Oh my gosh, that woman, she can play anything. She's not afraid to be ugly. And I actually used a lot of what she how she deals with characters and goes into it in Dollhouse, because Brenda was not a pretty character at all. She was very ugly.
Oh my gosh.
And messy, and I intentionally actually gained a little bit of weight for that film too, because even just having that name Brenda was so separated from Laura that I was like, I have to feel like this not put together character. I have to feel somewhat ugly and not like my appearance, and start with that. So that really influenced me a lot, and she's one of those actresses that's not afraid to be ugly, and then she can also be beautiful, and then she can be conniving, and she can be, just real and relatable. So I really admire her. Meryl Streep is another one that has all those characteristics as well.
That is amazing, and sounds like you're the next Robert De Niro in the making, the best method actor in the business. That's what makes me think of.
I do go pretty method. That's so true.
I think I'll probably tell him that as well too. And of course, lastly, here we know you're very busy. What's the best advice you would give if someone wants to get into acting?
Oh, okay. Honestly, don't listen to what other people say. You know what's in your heart, and if you think that you can do it, go for it. I mean, I would just use my story of picking up that phone and calling Gary Spatz the playground, and just knowing, from then, like, they either like you or they don't. They like you or they don't, and that's how this business is, and you have to be okay with that.
That is amazing, too. And, of course, lastly here, you've been great, before I let you go. And tell everybody, what are some of your upcoming projects? What is your website, and how can people contact you? And where can people see all your films?
All right. So my website is www.laurastetman.com. So literally just my name.com. You can see my projects on, for Skitz, you can go on the YouTube channel and see it on there. You can also see it on the Roku channel. My upcoming films, the Things We Lose, and also the feature coming up, Todd, as well, which is going to be shooting around the same time as the Things We Lose. That is actually being talked about being theatrically distributed, so we'll see about that. Some of my films have gone on to Amazon Prime. So King Charles, directed by Nick Naylor, has been on Amazon Prime. That was a great one too. And then just a bunch of them, Woods of Purgatory. You can see that. It's on a YouTube series as well. I'm not sure if he's pitching that one to Netflix, but it's on YouTube right now. So you can see that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. CVI Robot Orlando, CVI Robot Made. You can actually YouTube that and see that one. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. The rest of it are short films that have just been to film festivals. So if you just go on my IMDb, type in that short film, you'll be able to find it on YouTube.
That is amazing. And Laura, just wanted to say it has been a great pleasure to have you on. Thank you very much for your time. You have just been so fantastic. I look forward to all your films. And just do us a favor, keep in touch and give us updated on all your projects. And definitely looking forward to have you on again soon.
Heck yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Mike. It's been awesome.
Thanks for listening to The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Listen online at themikewagnershow.com and on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And watch the interview on YouTube. Also, become a sponsor of the program and or donate today at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of The Mike Wagner Show.